Yes.
Okay, sorry, we've been recording this whole time. I apologize. I didn't realize it was. Usually
Fine.
I tell people before I hit record. Um,
No
Hello,
problem.
everyone, and welcome to episode, I don't know what, 6 or something of Craig Talks to People, which is the interview show that's sweeping the nation. And one of the cool things about making a record like I did is that other musicians that you admire are willing to talk to you when that happens and meet with you. And I've been lucky enough to meet the person you see here, Murray Attaway, who I grew up listening to and am still listening to now. And Murray, welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having me. So by your lights, by your estimation, you have to put a record out before you can talk to somebody else. That's essentially
Yeah.
what you just said.
Well, it's
I
funny.
do
I
I
like,
do a lot of podcasts, and I'm pretty sure nobody that I do interviews with records out. So you may want to
good
reach
point. Well, yeah, it's a good point. Now that I think about it. I guess you have to either be a musician or you have to promise to give them exposure some way. I don't know.
I
Um,
get that much. I mean, they never make any promises to me. They just get in touch
they
and say,
just
"Will
call
you
you.
do
Yeah.
this?" And I go, "Yeah." So
Yeah. Well, there you
hang
go.
on. Let me turn the filter off.
Sure.
Hey Siri, turn off the filter.
There you go. All right.
And the
Your
filter went
skin
off.
tone looks much, you look much healthier now.
It's going to change because there's a big monitor right past this laptop that's like slowly changing colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a second, though, it'll go black. So
All
I'll be
right.
all right. You look
Um,
purpley.
yeah, I have, it's part of my whole shtick, right? A blue burst. I have a blue lamp right here.
Lance,
I could just do
now
that.
you're truly blue.
Yeah.
When you
Let me
got
get
it
that.
over there,
It
I,
makes me look a little, do I look sick? Do I look a
no,
little,
no, not you know, you're sort of reading purple.
I feel sick. No, but,
Maybe you should transition to purple burst.
could be. I was thinking of
It wouldn't
brown
be
burst.
because
Yeah.
everything's so polarized and political now that that's going to be weird if you do that. So stick with blue burst.
Well, I'm waiting to get a review from someone sort of like Spinal Tap Shark Sandwich with Shit Sandwich. I'm going to get Brown Burst, I think will be
Oh yeah.
the review for me. Or back when I was playing in Dallas, there was that band Deep Blue Something, and they got a review that was Deep Brown Something. Which,
You know, do you know Robert Cons? I mean, not Robert Considine. Uh, shoot, I'm gonna forget his name now. J.D. Considine.
I don't know.
Okay, he's still around, I'm pretty sure, but he was reviewer for Musician magazine for
Hmm.
years, and he had the whole back page.
Yeah,
He was known for his acerbic wit, and
yeah,
he actually, whether this is deserved or not, is besides the point. So I'm just going to say that going in. I have
yeah.
no opinion about the record that I'm going to mention, but my favorite review that he ever did, and it's famous. A lot of people know about this. I'm surprised you don't. Uh, is back in the '80s, I guess late '80s, early '90s. Three prog rock guitar players made an album together. It was
I know what you're going to say, but
yeah, it was
go ahead.
it was it was like Steve Hackett from
Hmm.
Genesis,
Yep,
I mean not Chris Squire, Steve Howe from Yes, I believe,
yep.
and who was the other one?
I think that was it. I think it was just those two guys.
No, there was three. There was
Were
three.
they?
There's a
Hmm.
third one. I can't think who. Anyway, so they made this superstar guitar album, and it was just called GTR, which we all know. You spend enough
Hmm.
time in recording studios, that's just the common
Yeah, there are no
on
vowels
track.
allowed in recording studios.
Yeah, on track notes is usually GTR stands for guitar. So the album was called GTR. Robert JD Considine's review was SHT.
See, I liked that record.
That was the whole
I
review.
had that record growing up.
As I said going in,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I ever heard the record.
Well,
But I saw that review and I've never forgotten it.
there's never been a reviewer that liked prog rock. I don't think so. I
Actually,
guess he was going to be the first.
that changed over the years
Yeah.
as we knew it would. But you're
Yeah.
right. It was in its heyday when I was in high school, and I was a big fan listening to Close to the Edge by Yes and listening to, whatever, Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull and Nursery Crime by the
Yep.
original.
The original. Yep.
uh, I didn't care anyway. But you
Yeah.
saw those reviews. I
Yeah.
used to read. Yeah, I mean, if you can pick up Cream magazine, you think Cream magazine, who was like just getting into proto punk at that point, they're actually going to like this.
No.
You know, stuff that it weaves Jacobian melodies and too
Right.
many tricks and all this spacey stuff.
Well, I
And
mean,
Rolling Stone hated all of it too. So, you
yeah.
know,
I mean, punk was such a reaction against musicianship, you know, that like people who were good musicians became uncool there. I was a
you know,
huge Rush fan growing up, and I still am. And
yeah, I still like Rush too.
yeah, you know,
Rush took me a while to get to just simply because I was, somewhere in my head I was a prog purist, and for me there was one period, and there was only a handful of bands that really rose to the top there. So it took me a while to get Rush. I just thought, oh well, they're just Canadian, ELP or whatever, but without the
yeah,
keyboard. Um, but although they had keyboards, I forgot because Getty plays keyboards sometimes, doesn't
yeah,
he? Anyway, but yeah, I love them. Uh, but you were talking about punk cancel or being the reaction to it. It was so punk was more of a reaction to corporate rock. I thought it was a
yeah,
reaction to stadium rock. I mean, I remember it vividly. I was there,
yeah,
but uh, but by the time Guadalcanal started, when we were coming up, and I started doing interviews with magazines and whatnot, they start talking about your influence. I would always mention my prog stuff that I love because I'm not ashamed of it, and I wasn't ashamed of it then. I mean, they can coexist. They could coexist even back then. There was a lot of musicians, songwriters that I knew that were into that same stuff, and some of them would admit it, and some of them wouldn't admit it. I just thought, I don't care what anybody thinks. I never have cared. So I
yeah,
mean, about stuff like that. I
right,
listen to
yeah,
what I listen to. I also at the time listened to old, Delta blues, and which I still do, and I also listened to, like Bakersfield country music and stuff like that, and George Jones, and
yeah,
anybody that doesn't like that, we need to
yeah,
step outside. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I mean, that's when it was authentic, country. It was people,
Yeah,
you know,
uh, whether and again, that's another argument that I wouldn't take debate on whether whether that ended in 1980 or not. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, music. It is what it is now. Some of it's interesting to me, some of it's not. But the stuff that I happen to really, really love all took place back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and some in the 80s as far as country goes. That's the period. Prague, all the stuff I love took place in about a 5 year period. It's
yeah,
like between 1960, when did the Yes album come out? 68, I think.
that sounds right.
Between 68 and about 74. So it's about a 6 year period. That
Yeah,
was when all that stuff was on fire in my, teenage brain anyway. So
yeah, yeah. Um, it's
what,
funny. It's funny. I know.
you can ask questions, then I'll
Yeah, I
say,
know. I know. I'm supposed to ask questions. Well, I know how you bristle at the Jangle Pop thing moniker, and
I'm
I
bristling.
can
Is it
understand
my
why.
bristling?
But I always thought of you guys as post punk, and when I say post punk, I mean the DIY ethic of punk, but with a little more maybe creativity, musicianship, innovation than straight up punk. So
That's awfully slippery of you, Blueburst. Well, yeah, I mean, since you brought it up, yeah, I mean, we thought of ourselves as a rock band. That's pretty much the
yeah,
long and short of it. We really didn't think. I mean, we started. None of the stuff that we got lumped into was really a thing at that point anyway.
yeah.
Not. I
I think it
mean,
was more the people that were around the scene than
it
you
always
guys.
is. It always
Yeah,
is. It's never the musicians.
yeah,
It's never. I mean, that's true anywhere. That's true in all through history. It's not. It's the people that come to the shows and people that want to be part of the scene. They're the scene. But I said this in some article recently. And I'm trying to think what, like, so I don't contradict myself. But yeah, because we got when we started, very first started like playing, parties and stuff like that before we'd ever made a record. Athens, Atlanta, those scenes. I mean, Athens was the bands that were popular then were B-52s had broken out. and Pylon was happening, and Love Tractor.
Yeah.
Those were kind of holy trinity to me. I mean, those are all friends of mine. Well, especially Pylon and Love Tractor. Those are my
Right.
friends,
Yeah.
and I knew the bees. But those were that scene, and so Guadalcanal, we weren't that. We weren't that at all. We weren't dance. I mean, you could dance to it,
Yeah.
but we weren't dance music like that. Not to diminish anything, any of those three bands that I love those bands. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah.
completely, and love the people in them. But we just weren't that kind of thing. We weren't party music. We were a rock band. We were more like, we always thought of ourselves as, if we had to pick something, we thought the band that we were probably the most like in style was XTC
Hmm.
at that period.
Interesting. Yeah.
We weren't like slavishly trying to make us an XTC record, and we weren't an XTC wannabe. We just thought, oh, that's kind of how we do things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
It
Jangle
depends.
Pop is I don't like Jangle Pop, and people always say that in interviews. Oh, he hates that term Jangle Pop. It's because it's just a made up thing. I mean, I know
Yeah.
what it means. Of course, I know what it means, but it's a writer tool. It's a lazy writer tool. I mean,
Right.
maybe not now because it took root so many years ago, but it's just writers, reaching out for something easy, a label, a category. It's just like
Yeah.
radio programmers.
I think it implies something that your music is not too. Jangle pop sounds like light pop, Bay City Rollers kind of. It
See,
just has that the sound of the word itself, and
I think of jangly as being like the Birds,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
which
yep,
is in fact fair because, and we did use some of that sound. I mean, we liked
hmm,
that 12 string, sound,
yeah,
and just like REM did, I mean,
yeah,
same source. They Peter got it from that sound too. That and some of the other bands from the 60s were doing that real high end jangly guitar stuff. And yeah, we liked that, but that wasn't all we were about. It was very little of what we were about. I think by the
right,
second
yeah,
record, the first record probably had a lot of that on it, but by the second record, I don't think you can find a song that sounds like that.
yeah.
Third record, you can because you got this one. And I got a cop to it because if you're going to jangle away, then I guess you can jangle with,
Yeah. There's some kind of filter because I can't hear the guitar coming through, but I have a
can't
feeling
hear
I
it?
know what you're playing.
I'll fix that.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was thinking like your most well-known song starts off with a jangle, but it's not like
If
there's
you
that
hear
much
this,
jangle in the rest of.
if you can hear this.
Nah, it's muffly. It's some kind of zoom filter that it does
Okay.
with audio. I've learned.
It's Litany, folks.
Yes, I figured.
That jangle.
Which I've told you before is really my favorite song. And it's
Like it of mine or in the world.
in the world. And I'm not saying it's. Somebody go, well, how can you say that's better than "A Day in the Life" by the Beatles? And I'm like, I'm not saying it's better.
Not
I'm
better.
saying it's my favorite song because of when I heard it and what it meant to me at the time and what it means to me. And I just remember listening to the local show on 96 Rock, and I had heard of you guys, but I hadn't heard the music yet. And that came on, and I just was like, that is perfect. That is the guitar texture that I've been wanting to do. That the kind of, it's a great mix of, some dry and wet, I guess, for lack of a better term. And just, I love the pace of it. One thing I tried to do with my record is make sure there was a lot of pace
Yeah.
and thinking back to, the bands you mentioned, the B-52s and Pylon. I mean, those songs were fast, and your Guadalcanal songs were fast. Watusi Rodeo is fast.
That first album is like a speeding
Yeah.
train. But
And,
we had 5 days to make it.
yeah, there you go. But I don't know, maybe it's because everyone was doing cocaine back then or something, but it's like, no, not, sorry, I didn't mean to imply that, but,
No, no, nor did you. I'm just there.
but I think rock music lost that somewhere. Just being fast. And
For cocaine, I don't think it
no,
did.
I didn't lose the cocaine. No,
Yeah.
but it can loud doesn't get your heart racing. Fast does, and so
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know though. I mean, did you ever see the original Who live?
All right, that's true. That's a good
They
exception.
weren't
But
fast, but they
no,
certainly
they
loud.
certainly
So
got your heart racing. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you know, AC/DC wasn't that fast either, but
No.
whether you like all their catalog or not,
Right.
great
But it's a
songs.
different feeling that you get from Back in Black, where you just want to go like that, than
Love
really
that.
excitement of, just some like Watusi Rodeo, or
Well,
I always bring up Private Idaho as one that it's just so fast,
yeah,
and
it's
it
good.
just,
That's a great song.
yeah,
I appreciate you saying that about Litany. Litany really, I wrote that at a time when I felt like that. Like my life had gotten personally a lot better because I had sort of stopped being an idiot, and
I, yeah,
being self-indulgent and careless and whatnot, and doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And I had done that. I had gone that way for a bit, and that song just popped out, and it was exactly how I
yeah.
felt. It was so it's special to me too. But thank you for saying those kind words about it.
One thing that song has that a lot of alternative music, or whatever you want to call it, is missing, I think, is what I call the bombast of rock. And it
Mhm.
really has it at the beginning, and then in that middle bridge, just a, just like there's,
Yeah,
it's like uncool to be that earnest and just in your face. Let's play this as loud as we fucking can for a second. And I love it. I have this memory of driving with my friend in his new Honda Prelude that he got when he was 16 or whatever. And we thought it was a great stereo in it at the time, and cranked that up, and just both of us, I goosebumps listening to that middle
oh,
bit.
thanks.
So
That's cool. I used to always have fun playing it. It got really good responses live, and
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
seemed to really dig that one. There was a few songs that people would, they immediately react as soon as they hear the first note. Watch
yeah,
Easy Rodeo was another one. As soon as they hear that lick,
yeah.
most people back in the day got real excited. So, um,
Now, all right, here's a touchy question for you. Since Litany, Litany obviously hints at the afterlife, and I've noticed there's a lot of religious sort of themes in your music, going back to Guadalcanal with songs like 10 Laws and Little Birds, and that's more superstition, I guess, and a lot on the new record. What role
yeah.
does religion play in your life? Obviously, we both live here in the Bible Belt, and it permeates everything to some degree.
I wasn't raised in a particularly religious household, but and I don't really know that I would ascribe that to religion specifically. It is a spirituality that is important to me in my life, and my personal beliefs, which I don't generally discuss, except just to say that I am in fact a deist. I do believe in God very strongly,
Mm-hmm.
and that sort of colors everything that I do and makes me try to be a good person. And that's what I think is important. But as far as the references go, yeah, I mean, I'm like any writer, anybody else. I mean, you pick from sources, do you not? And scripture is an awfully good. I mean, well,
Yeah,
I, probably in its original tongue, not so much, but the English versions that we have handed
yeah.
down to us of the Bible and uh, other spiritual tomes are often great repositories of inspiration for writers and outright theft for writers. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
uh, so there's that happens. I mean, I actually not so much now, but back in the day, I used to read a lot of Eliot,
Mm-hmm.
T.S. Eliot. I used to read a lot of poets that I was Yeats. Was a big Yeats fan. The sad thing about those folks is that all this time has passed, and now we know that maybe they weren't such good guys, and blah blah blah. All this
Yeah.
stuff that came out about Eliot. It just makes me sad. Yeats too. I love Yeats's poetry, and they're great sort. And so maybe I should feel better if I steal from them. It's like, well, the hell with those guys. I'm just take
Yeah.
some stuff. But I never try not. If I was stealing lines from a person like a poet, I usually tried to do it so obviously that it was a nod or tribute, one line,
Yeah.
or you take from some sing uh, um, in Litany, for instance. I just thought about it. There's a Sandy Denny line in there.
Hmm.
There's a line from, if you know who Sandy Denny was.
I don't know.
Sandy Denny was the lead singer for Fairport Convention,
Okay.
which, if you're not familiar with
I
them,
was gonna say I'm not better than
great, great, great band. You should check them out. You
yeah.
probably really dig them. They were sort of the first English folk rock band.
Hmm.
They were what they were to English folk music and rock music what Graham Parsons was to country and rock in this
Hmm.
country, in America, in a sense. But that's where Richard Thompson. That's how we know Richard Thompson. He came from Fairport Convention. You're not going to tell me you don't know Richard Thompson.
I do know Richard Thompson, and the drummer who played on Blueburst has been touring with him, playing with him. So
Oh, good. Yeah,
yeah,
he's fantastic. I love Richard Thompson's music.
yeah,
Always been a big fan. Only autograph I've ever asked for that I can remember. So
that's cool.
we played with him one time, and I was, oh God, I got to do this. Anyway, usually I'm too meek to ask for autographs even if I want one. But Fairport Convention was a great band back in the 60s and 70s. They still exist after a fashion with some of the original members. He's not in it. Sandy Denny sadly passed away, I think, back in the early 80s. But Sandy Denny was their lead singer, their lead female vocalist, and then she went on to have solo records. And she was a great writer and has a fantastic voice. She's very well worth listening to. Anyway, she has a song that's very beautiful and called "Who Knows Where the Time Goes,"
Mm.
and it's fairly insignificant in the mechanics of my song Litany, but it was my way of saying thanks.
Yeah,
Quoting it. So
yeah, yeah.
sometimes you do that. Maybe you don't. I do. So
Well, I've got a line in one of my songs. Where I say, May said to do it right, and one's all you need, which is a
yeah,
reference to Mae West saying, "You only live once, but if you do it right once is enough."
yeah,
So,
that's a good line. I actually recognize it.
and I noticed you quoted a very esteemed poet, Buffalo Bill, with "It gets the hose again."
Took me a second. I thought you were talking about Cody, but you're talking about
Yeah.
Buffalo Bill called the 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 Buffalo Bill. No, the other one.
No, they
Uh,
haven't. Yeah.
yeah, I definitely quoted it. Yeah,
um,
it's interesting who catches that.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Well, the same song with the Mae West thing, I call it Kaiser Soze. I
right.
said 50
I love-
years,
Yeah.
a half century gone, poof like Kaiser Soze's footsteps. And so,
Yes.
children of the '90s, I'll get that one.
Good line.
But yeah, thanks, thank you.
Yeah. Uh, yeah.
So
The hose again. It'd be that's such a great set of that's such great dialogue. I mean,
yeah,
you could take it apart and use all of it and have five different songs. I mean,
some band did.
basket. I'd love to, if it wasn't so long after that film, I'd probably make a record call it "It Places the Music in the Basket" or something.
Well, some band did a song called, I think it was called "It Gets the Hose Again." And it kind of goes, "It puts the lotion on the skin, dun, 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 or else it gets the hose again."
Oh yeah, because he
And
already
they,
wrote
yeah,
it.
and they synced it up with the video and everything. You got to look that up. It's pretty
Who
funny.
is that?
I have no idea. I don't
I'll
think
look
they
it
ever
up.
did anything of note other than that. But
It should be easy to find though.
yeah. So I was going through, I'd listened to the record a few times, and today I was like, well, I'm going to go through and really read the lyrics. And I noticed some parallels between me making a record at my age and having a lot of themes of mortality and death. And
How old are you?
I am 52, but most of the writing came when I turned 50, and you start thinking about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now I try not to think about it, but there's a lot of that in your record. Is that something that's been, well, obviously it's been on your mind. I don't know what my question is.
I turned 50. I turned 50 a long time ago, so
Yeah.
I'm significantly older than you. But I started. I mean, the the absolute and positive fact of mortality sort of settles in at about 50, you start to really start to see,
Yeah.
okay, this is really the deal. I'm actually not going to live
Yeah.
forever. Um, but
It's sorry to interrupt. It smacked me in the face. I lost my father about 3 weeks ago. So,
yeah,
that,
I knew that. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. So definitely, it was easier to write about that stuff when I was 50 going, yeah, I'm going to spit in the face of death. And then, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
No, no, it's. I think you're. Uh, I think when one does that, uh, I mean, I don't know how the universe works behind the scenes, but I don't want to risk anything. I don't want to piss off God or any other,
yeah,
ethereal uh, overlords. So I try not to I try not to be terribly glib about my observations about mortality in songs or even just
yeah,
talking about it. They're actually I have these little rules like I won't make reference to any number of years that I think I will continue to exist because I think I'm kind of superstitious in a weird way.
yeah,
And I just won't do it because it's not how the hell do I know,
yeah.
I mean,
You know,
it's it's like mind that bus, what bus splat, I mean, you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know. So
yeah,
anyway, none of us know the time or the day. There's a
nope,
biblical reference for you, but yes, when I started working on this record, I was just writing the stuff that it was sort of in my head and surrounding me and stuff. I don't mean any of it to be cautionary. I hope it doesn't come off that way.
no,
I
no,
mean,
I
you could,
don't think so. It's just sort of a thematic, element that's there in a few songs. I mean, I've got the lyrics pulled up. I mean,
I mean,
obviously, "Hole in the Ground" is pretty, pretty straightforward.
what do you
A
think that's
reference.
about? Besides the reference to Lecter, or besides reference to Buffalo Bill, besides
And
the
I'm
line,
pulling up the lyrics again. I've got.
about. Well,
Oh wait, that's.
you've heard it. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
don't think
I
you on the
don't know.
spot. You don't
Well,
have to. Yeah.
no, it's all right. Well, what do you think it's about? I'll throw it back at you
I know
because.
what it's about. I
All right.
wrote it. I know what it's about. I wonder what you think it's about. You go first. I asked you first.
All right, hang on. That is what the one that I didn't.
Sorry. I know you haven't memorized the lyrics, Craig, and
No,
I'm not
but it's
expecting
okay.
you.
But I typed a bunch of them up, and that was one of the ones where the lyrics were on the file on Apple Music, so I didn't type
Yeah,
that one
they
up.
better all be there with all the trouble I had to go through to get them. But you
Oh,
never
hang
can,
on.
so it's just like usually.
Give me a
We need
second.
your lyrics. Put your lyrics here, and then it's like
Yeah.
5 minutes late from after you start singing. It's never synced up in any general sense.
This thing's not cooperating with me today.
Well, I can tell
Murray
them.
Attaway. Okay, hang on.
All right.
Hole in the Ground, single. Get info. We were just talking before we started about how technology makes things harder.
This is like
You could have just told me what it is.
this is like every
Um,
day of my life, right? What you're doing,
yeah.
right? Uh, Oh, you took your glasses off.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm reading it.
yeah,
You know what?
this is some serious stuff now.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what it's about.
you
It's
said
hard
you
to
did.
tell.
You said you did. What
I
was up?
did. I don't think I said that.
Oh,
Didn't think it.
you can obviously check,
I'll go
but
back and look at the tape.
I believe you intimated.
I think I just meant it's a clear that phrase is obviously a clear reference to death because of saying there's a lot of
I,
themes of mortality, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm
I
wrong.
actually never thought about that.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I never thought about that.
Huh.
Right
Interesting.
this second. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. I love to hear every. I mean, don't you? I write. I want other people. I want a listener to interpret. I mean, I
Yeah.
always have. I mean, I don't mean that I'm intentionally obscure or uh, what is that term? I bet you know it.
It's not
As a writer.
cryptic.
No, 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 not
Uh,
cryptic.
enig-
An
enigmatic.
actual. No, there's an actual phrase. It gets applied to songwriters, but it's like a working phrase that people use on purpose when they're writing. That's deliberate obscuring of whatever the topic is.
Hmm.
Oh God, I'm going to find that sometime.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't deliberately write lyrics to be obscure. I tend to write around whatever I'm talking about because I'm not usually that earnest of a writer, just sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
I
have
never
trouble with
thought
that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I never thought about the hole in the ground being a burial plot. That's fascinating. It should
Hmm.
have been obvious, but it wasn't. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
No,
Well, there's that debate, right? Like Eddie Vedder said he doesn't like to tell people what the songs are about, although I think he does, anyway, but he says he doesn't
yeah,
because he wants you to have your own interpretation. He doesn't want to
yeah,
ruin that. I feel like that to some degree, but like I wrote that song Executioner song on my album. I wrote it about Gary Gilmore because I had just read the book Executioner Song, and
mhm.
I had some people say, "Oh, that made the song even richer once I knew that." So
Yeah.
it can be different for different things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that song at some point
Yeah,
because I
sure.
have a question about it.
Go ahead.
But I'll finish telling you about Hole in the Ground, and
Sure.
we can close that one out. Hole in the Ground was written as sort of self-criticism.
Hmm.
Uh, it's about artifice and uh, just the notion that you have to. It's putting forth a. It's about putting forth a false uh, visage, I guess,
Hmm.
is that I'm at a loss for good words today, but false front. Um,
Hmm.
and how I don't know about anybody else. I'm speaking for myself, but how I'm always ashamed of myself when I do it.
Hmm.
When I play some role, I try really hard to
Yeah.
be the person that I actually am.
Well,
Uh,
I think you're pretty
over
good at
time.
it. You've always struck me as an authentic guy who doesn't mince words or put on airs about
Yeah,
anything. So,
I thank you because I do try consciously to be that way. And so when I catch myself being some other version of it, that's what the song's about because I find it repellent. And
yeah.
so that's the basis of that song. But that's not the whole content of the song. I mean, obviously the
Yeah.
song's not about me as much as it is about my viewpoint of, you know, I don't like braggarts very much,
Yeah. Me either.
and that song is a lot sort of about that.
I mean,
I will say though, no, absolutely nothing topical, no current anything, no political anything. I don't do that. I don't do topical.
yeah. Yeah.
Put it this way, I have opinions just like anybody else does,
Yeah.
but you're gonna have to look for them
Yeah.
because I'm not gonna put them in my music.
Yeah.
Other people do that really well. I'm not one of them. And why would I want to bore anybody with my opinions?
Yeah. I kind of agree. I mean, I have some, I guess you could say, stuff that can be interpreted politically.
Well, everything
And it
can be
certainly isn't.
interpreted.
Yeah. It's true.
I
But
work
I,
really hard against
yeah.
doing that, but you can't help it.
Yeah. I mean, the song Amplify Me, I wrote after seeing all these sort of protests coming out in 2020. And, I didn't write it about any particular protest, but just sort of this general theme of people feeling like they weren't being heard and taking to the streets. And whether it's, the assholes in Charlottesville or the, George Floyd, people, whatever. I didn't
Yeah.
want to take a judgment on who this person in the song was. It was just someone who wasn't being heard and felt this need to go out and kind of grab it somehow.
Yeah, and good for you. Good for you for writing about that. And I write, I'm motivated by things that happen in the world all the time when I write.
Yeah.
And just my style, my approach to that is you figure it out. If that's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, maybe that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. 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 Well, it helps to not alienate half the country too.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to I mean, my whole job is just to make the music that I make. I don't feel like it's
Yeah.
preach to anybody. I don't feel like it's my job to tell anybody what to think or try to influence anybody's opinion on anything. My job is just to hopefully take you away from that for 30 minutes, you know,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
37.5 minutes or whatever the length of the album is.
Yep.
I was surprised how short it was when I started getting back all the numbers and whatnot. It's a short record,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's
Well,
packed full. So
well, it is, but it's like, that's how long records used to be, until
I
we got
know.
CDs. And then I think a good 40-minute record is a really nice place to be. Honestly, there's too many
I,
records that have 5 songs too many. So,
yeah, I mean, there's a song on it I probably shouldn't have even put on there, but I'm not going to say which one it is.
all
But
right.
there's one because somebody will like it. You know, I
Yeah.
like the song. I'm
Yeah.
just not crazy about the way I did it in the
Yeah.
end. I
No, I've
probably
I've had that. There's one on my record that neither Marty or I really likes anymore. It just kind of
yeah,
didn't come out as well as we liked it. And then somebody the other day is like, "That's my favorite one," and on the record, and it's like, "Oh, cool."
it always happens. It's happened to me every
So
time I've made a record. I mean,
yeah,
the second Guadalcanal record, I thought the whole record was sort of off kilter and it didn't really come out the way we thought it was going to come out. Just go down the road a few years, and that's some real hardcore fans. That's their favorite Guadalcanal record. And I was like, who knew?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I find my favorite record by artist is generally the one that I discovered the artist on.
yeah, there's
You know what I
good
mean?
points to that too. Yeah,
I don't know why that is, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We mentioned Black Sea up at XTC a little while ago, and my favorite record of theirs is still Black Sea because that's
yeah.
the record that I first really listened to of theirs.
So that brings me to an interesting thing about our age gap is my first XTC experience was Oranges and Lemons.
Great record.
And I love that record. It's very different from the early XTC. But I feel like with the age I was, being a teenager in like the late 80s, I discovered a lot of artists at their worst. Like, I discovered Bruce Springsteen with Born in the USA, you know, for
What's wrong with
instance.
Born in the USA? That's
It's
a great.
okay. It's not his best record, though. It's not Darkness on the Edge of Town. Um,
We may have to disagree about
really?
that.
Okay.
I mean, have you ever really given it a good listen?
Yeah, I mean, I like I like all his stuff. I'm just, you know,
Oh,
I love a few songs on it. I love I'm Going Down.
mhm.
Um,
I think Born in the
it's
USA
kind of
is
a
a great song.
thin sounding record to me, like a lot of the stuff at that time is. But that's not
You
either here
know,
nor there. The songs are great. But,
one of the things that tickled me about that song was that Reagan used it as a campaign song.
hmm
He clearly didn't listen to
He
the
didn't
lyrics.
listen to the
People
lyrics.
did not listen to the lyric.
And he does a acoustic version of that. It doesn't sound anything like the recorded one, where
Oh, I haven't heard
it's
that.
very much like dark, and you immediately get it.
Yeah,
This is not a patriotic anthem. So
I'm with you. Darkness on the Edge of Town is a better record. I think Born in the
yeah,
USA is a very good record. I don't think it's anywhere near his best record. My favorite
yeah,
record, Springsteen's, is Nebraska. It still is.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
that chills me. I can listen to it now and be chilled, but I love that record.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I just did a version of one of our songs, and I called it the Nebraska version, and I recorded it on this cassette. Just
Oh,
fell out.
is that a Fostech or
It's
Tascam?
Tascam, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
have
thought
one.
that'd be an interesting experiment. And I got a fake Echoplex pedal. I couldn't afford the real Echoplex, but supposedly he did the whole thing with a Tascam and an Echoplex. So
See, when it first came out, the story was he recorded it at his kitchen table with uh two CD like bookshelf CD bookshelf cassette recorders
yeah,
side by side. And then
yeah,
you found out, nah, he actually did it with a Tascam 4 track, this is good,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's
I was kind of amazed at how good this thing actually sounds when I bought it. I turned the noise reduction off on it to record it because I wanted to make it sound closer to that. But
yeah. When we were on the road in the 80s, Guadalcanal, I would carry what became known to me as the studio in a bag. And I had this bag and I had a Tascam in it, a
hmm
5.6, it was one of the 4 track cassette recorders. And I would carry a Shure 57 mic with a little tabletop stand. And of course, we had our guitars, so that was easy. You just bring the guitar in a hotel room with you.
yeah,
I had a Lisa's drum machine, which I wish I
oh
still
yeah,
had. I mean, it was
Yep.
great.
I
They
think we
make
all had one of those. Yeah, the Dr.
family.
Rhythm.
No, no, no. This
Oh
wasn't
no.
Dr. Rhythm. This was one of
Uh,
the white ads on it.
oh, okay. Yeah.
I forget the model number, but I loved it. It was in my old studio for years. Uh, and so I'd sit there at night and just write songs because I didn't party. I'd just go back to the hotel and sit there and write songs and then read a book and go to sleep. Um, but that was my original studio in a bag, and I thought I was really hot stuff because I thought of that. It comes by, I'm like, lots of people have been doing it forever, you know. But
Yeah.
but now I still have studio in a bag. Every place I go, no matter where I go, whether it's overseas or whether it's just a couple states away or whatever, I carry recording gear with me.
Yeah. Yeah. You
You
never
might
know.
might need it, you know.
Yeah. I've got
Not
a little app on my phone. If something strikes me, I dictate it in there, play it, but I don't actually record like extra tracks, but
I
probably,
did. There's a couple of bits and pieces that are on Tense Music Plays, the new record
mhm.
that I recorded that way.
Yeah.
There's a section of Old Christmas, the song Old Christmas I recorded like that.
Yeah.
So
So,
I
so
did a
we,
lot of, when I was doing podcasts, I did some of those podcasts in Sweden, some of the
yeah,
episodes set up at my first wife's place over in Sweden.
yeah.
And I love doing stuff like that.
So we met, I looked it up around 2019, 2020. And I remember you mentioned at the time, like, you're like, there is going to be another album. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, cool.
I've been
So
saying it
like,
for
yeah, like how did this come about? How long have you been thinking about it? Did you always know you were going to do it?
yeah, I always figured I would.
Yeah.
Since I quit, when I quit back in the 90s, uh, the short version is I always tell, when people ask me, I always tell people, like, yeah, I just quit. When Geffen decided they didn't particularly care for the second solo album that I recorded for them. So at that
Yeah.
point, my daughter had already, my child had been born. I was tired of the business. I didn't want to be on the road anymore. I wanted to stay home and raise my kid. And I always knew I'm not a musician's musician. I think we've had this conversation privately, but
Mhm.
I'm not a musician's musician. I'm just a songwriter, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a guy like my friends like Peter Holzapfel and Don Dix and people like that I've known most of my adult life. I'm not like those guys. I'm not as good as they are. And music isn't the, the same thing to me that it is them. I always knew that I was going to do other things.
Hmm.
And so at that point in my life, I thought, well, I'm going to quit this business as a business and I'm going to start a business, I was a graphic designer for a while. And then when I was a tech consultant, I was a systems consultant for different
Hmm.
companies. And when the web finally opened up to what it became back then, I became a web developer and I still am one as we
Hmm.
speak.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind that. I wanted to get away from that world. It wasn't a bad world. I just figured I'd done it and I wanted
Yeah.
to go out on a high note. I wasn't like, it wasn't reductive. I wasn't like embarrassed particularly by anything that had happened to me. I didn't get dropped. I had nothing. I just said, I'm done. Bye.
Yeah.
And got the contract. But, then went and did like a Guadalcanal live album after that.
Hmm.
Just got back together and did it, um, which I'm glad I did. But and did some film scores too for a director named Howard Leboff, great filmmaker, good
Uh,
film.
what's that
But
like? I mean, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
well, I was going to finish my train of thought.
Sure.
But so all that time, I figured I would do another record eventually, but I wasn't in any hurry back in those days.
Yeah.
And then it got to be the 2000s, and I was thinking, oh, maybe. And then it got to be the teens, and Jeff Walls and I did a couple of little bands together for fun, and I'm
Hmm.
glad that we did because that was the last time I got to play with Jeff Walls, which was
There's
always going to be
his
a lot of
amp over
fun.
my shoulder there.
Oh my God, it sure is. I recognize that immediately. Well, I didn't know that no one knew, obviously, at that point.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for the time that I had left with him. I wish I could call him up today. He would have been all over this record. I wouldn't have had
Yeah.
to learn to play guitar to play my own record. Jeff could have
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah.
But It's incalculable loss. I'll always miss him. He was my brother. But anyway, so by the time it turned, by the time it got to be about 2018, 2019, right about when I met you, I'd started doing that podcast, Dazzle Dude.
Yeah.
That kind of got me back into recording
Yeah.
and editing and thinking about studio stuff because I'd always had a studio in a barn out behind my old house in the country. And when I moved back to Atlanta and got remarried, got married to my second wife, Layla, I didn't really, this is suburbia. I didn't think about setting up a studio. Now I have, obviously, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. This is my former garage that we just
yeah,
renovated into this
yeah.
place.
Well, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I had that much space. I don't, but I made it work anyway. So anyway, by the time I met you and by the time I was doing Dazzle Dudes, I was thinking, all right, because with Dazzle Dudes, I had to write songs. I had to write songs for the fictitious band Dazzle Dudes, and I wrote
Yeah.
purposefully bad songs. I
It's
always
gotta
say
be,
this,
it's gotta be fun.
as I always say this next line in interviews. I got a chance to write bad songs on purpose for a change. It's actually true instead of accidental.
Yeah.
But but it was fun. And I thought, well, yeah, now it's probably time that I start thinking about doing this. So I did. And when when Mark Williams, my dear friend who had engineered a bunch of the stuff and worked with Don Dixon on a bunch of the cool stuff and then done a bunch of cool production himself. I've worked with him on stuff over the years besides Guadalcanal. He had semi-retired. He's publishing books, really cool series of books I can tell you about if you want, but called Dark Lantern Tales. But uh, he said, "Oh well, if you're getting ready to do another record and you want me to mix it, I'll do it." And I was like, "Okay, now we're going to really do a record." So that was the catalyst.
Yeah.
Dazzle Dudes, and then having Mark say that to me, I was like, "Okay, now I've got to be serious about this." And
Yeah.
by being
Yeah.
serious, I mean really applying myself.
Right.
So but
It's
yeah,
it
that's how it happened.
it's easy with anything artistic, I think, to just sort of not have a deadline or a goal really, and for just stuff to just kind of drag out, over years until finally something makes you go, okay, time to just do this thing.
Well, when you start spending money on it,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
then you start noticing, okay, I probably should
Yeah.
get this moving here.
Now, how did
Mark,
you?
I have to
Okay.
say, Mark's patience is, I don't know anybody who's patient as he is. He literally waited while I relearned how to record and
Yeah.
helped me because he's like the pro of pros,
Yeah.
helped me, guided me through it, reminded me of stuff I'd forgotten. I had to relearn how to sing in my voice.
Hmm.
And relearn it, I had to remember it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it, you don't really lose it, but you forget how you did it. I did anyway.
Yeah.
It took me a lot of tries to get like the first couple of vocals. And, even now, having finally played live again, if I redid this record tomorrow, the vocals would sound totally different because they'd sound more like I did in the 80s
Hmm.
because I got back to that point.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah. Yeah.
record, I'm not quite there. It's a different voice, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. I could hear it.
I'm splitting hairs even saying this, but
No, I know what you mean though. I think when I was in my band back in the 90s, I sang by yelling because I was constantly never had good sound and I was trying to scream over the drum kit and all that.
everybody does.
And then, you know, got older, started singing into a microphone all the time and realized I sound better if I sing a little quieter. And now I'm figuring out how to do that back on stage again to get the stage voice to sound like the recording voice. And so it's all a thing. And, you talk about learning to record again. It's not like riding a bike. It's like, I feel like if I don't touch my computer for a while, that I forget how all the software works. And,
Well, I have the advantage of working in that world, not
yeah,
not recording, but in that world every single day, all day long because of my
yeah,
business.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't that far from it, but I had to relearn a lot of technique stuff.
yeah,
I really did. And I mean by that I mean the software too. I mean
yeah,
I was recording digitally back in the 80s. Uh,
yeah,
I was an early adopter because wow, what a cool thing. You can do it at home, you know.
Yeah.
But I went through like every digital audio workstation software that you can think of, I've used it.
Yeah.
I started out with, whatever. I was looking this up the other day just to see. It's like, did I use all the God? Yeah, I used to use them all at some point. Because you
Yeah.
try everything. There weren't that many in the beginning. So you use all those, and then you hear about, oh, there's this new one. It's called Mark of the Unicorn. That I'll try that one. And
Yeah.
and it's, nothing against them. They're great, but all this stuff. I had ADATs,
Yep.
when
I
they
had an ADAT once. Yep.
had two of them. In fact, my studio was based around ADATs for a little bit until we got
Well,
into hard drive
yeah.
recording.
Supposedly Primus at one point got a big advance to make a record, and they just bought a couple of ADATs and set it up in their garage and made their record for free
I, I,
and kept the advance. So
I didn't do that, but when I signed with Geffen, they, I'd done plenty. I mean, because Guadalcanal had been on Elektra for those albums, for our four albums. And then when I signed the fellow deal with Geffen, they were talking about, okay, well, we'll get you set up a demo budget. I said, I got a better idea. I've got a barn behind my house. Why don't you just give me a set amount of you guys? I said, you guys can monitor it however you have to do it. I'll just go buy the gear and I'll do limitless demos for you
yeah.
because and that worked out. So
Yeah.
one of the things I did because it was financially feasible within that budget was I bought a rack of ADAT.
Yeah.
They were brand new,
Yeah.
and they were great. They were just kind of annoying to use, and then I quit using them.
The thought of rewinding a tape today is just
yeah. And so as soon as hard drives got affordable to hold
Yeah.
that kind of volume, then it went straight to that.
Yeah.
First
It's
time
funny.
I recorded to a floppy disk.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I got my first digital audio workstation was Cubase because there was a discount on it.
Yeah.
And I just never switched because I just never wanted to take the time to learn another one. So that discount that they gave me in 1998 was a good investment on their part. So
I'm trying to think who my first one was. I think it was Sound Tools.
Yeah.
Or maybe Sound Forge. I remember there were so many of them.
So how much of the recording of this album did you do at home, or did you do demos and then go to a studio? All of it. Yeah.
All of it was either here or it was in my wife's mom's house in Palos Verdes, in California.
Yeah.
It's
amazing how you can do that now.
Yeah, that's why that's why I love the whole mobile recording thing. But yeah, 98% of it was done right in this room. So,
yeah. Cool.
But I mean, it's cool because everybody, ever since we had that capacity, everybody thinks they can do it. And everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. You can do it with your phone. It's fine. I mean, you can do a whole album with your iPhone. People have done whole films with their phones, But you also have to kind of know what you're doing. That really helps. I mean, you need to know a little technique.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't. I mean, but I mean, to me, to make an album that sounds like an album, that sounds professionally done, you kind of got to know what you're doing, and then you got to have somebody involved like Mark, who really has it down. So yeah, Mark uses Cubase, by the way. I did all the recording in Logic, and just sent him audio tracks, and he mixed it all in Cubase.
One of the things I did on the record and do now religiously is record any guitar part I record with an amp. I also record the direct signal from the guitar, so that if I fuck it up, I can go back and reamp it later, and or I can go to another studio with boutique amps and reamp it through that stuff, So it's saved me a lot of headaches for sure.
I did that early on with the acoustic parts on this record. I went direct and I mic'd them, just because I thought, well, I may want that direct signal. I may want to process it. I may want to do something funky to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't do that with the electric.
Yeah. So it's funny, like, hearing your sort of story of you're on Geffen, you kind of had the record come out in Thrall that, seemed like there was a big investment on their part, and you had some major league people on that, John Bryan and Ben Montench.
Well, John Bryant John Bryan was not one of the big investments. He was just getting started.
That's true. Good point. That was a long time
Now,
ago.
he was a good guy. I loved working with him. I wish
Yeah.
when I quit, that was one of the dumb things I did is I kind of just, I mean, I didn't not return calls. I just closed that door and I
Yeah.
didn't keep up with some people that I should have kept up with. I wished I'd have kept up with John Bryan. I wished I'd have kept up with Michael Penn because he was
Yeah.
around all the time. And
Yeah.
I wish I kept up with Jackson Brown. He was great.
Yeah.
And I didn't keep up with anybody, you know.
Yeah. Ah,
So,
it's,
but yeah, I mean, yeah, they definitely dropped some dough on that.
yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is like in my head, just knowing the basis of the story before meeting you, I'm like, oh, that must have been a crushing blow of getting dropped that sent Murray into a deep despair of 20 years, and now he's just coming out of it. And it doesn't seem like that's the case. You know, it seems like you just legit went on to do other. Maybe you were relieved to get out of it to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, there was no crushing blow to any of it. I mean, my
Yeah,
expectations are always vague and nebulous anyway. With anything I
yeah,
do, I'm happy with the record. Then 90% of it's achieved.
yeah, yeah,
I expect to be Taylor Swift or insert big name here. I mean, I'd never have and don't expect to be anything in particular. I just want to make a good record.
yeah,
Uh, that was something that was tricky about being with majors back in those days. They flatter you a lot. They flatter you a whole. They did then.
yeah,
They flatter you so much that it's easy if you're young and impressionable to buy into your own press, as it were.
sure.
And I never did. Nobody in Guadalcanal ever succumbed to that, and I didn't succumb to it. And you had to work at it though,
Yeah,
because it was so ubiquitous that they wouldn't stop. Oh, yeah, everything's. Oh, you look great today. Just from the way that you look to the way that you sound to the song to the everything. Oh, it's great. It's great. Oh, this is going to be so
yeah,
wonderful to put this out. And then they put it out and it doesn't sell, at all to the ridiculously high expectations that they have.
yeah,
The mere fact that it sold and people liked it was enough, but I didn't let's get the record straight. There was no crushing disappointment to me whatsoever.
yeah.
The only thing that could have been even couched as a disappointment was that I recorded a second record for them.
I just found out about that. I didn't realize that
Uh,
existed.
yeah, and I did it instead of doing the LA based record like I did for Enthrall. I insisted on coming back here and recording it with all my folks, like Dixon's on it, Holes Apples on it, the Indigos were on it, the Geesters on it, Guadalcanal, all of them were on it.
Yeah. I
Uh,
found an illegal download of it today, by the way.
yeah,
I'm
I
really
know.
excited to dig into it. So,
They exist. It may come out one day, actually.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. You know, Juliana Hatfield has a record called God's Foot that is supposedly her best record that they just never released.
Well, I hope that's not my best record, but I thought it was at the time. But
Yeah.
you don't have no one has the finished version of it. But what's out there is kind of
Oh, okay.
finished and demo stuff. And I mean, I don't mind that it's out there. But at any rate, so to finish that story, I sent them a finished record, and they had a change of uh, they had changed of personnel. My guy was Tom Zutaut, the guy that signed me to them. The Geffen was Tom Zutaut, and he was a big presence. He was the guy that signed Guns N' Roses to Geffen. He signed Edie
Hmm.
to Geffen. He gotten famous because he signed Motley Crue to Elektra.
Yeah.
So he was a big figure out there. And when he left Geffen, then I lost my cheerleader.
Yeah.
So when that happens to you, Geffen changed at that point anyway. And when that happens to you, if you're not like making bank for that company, then you may be in, shifty. But anyway, point being, when I sent them in the record, they didn't hear any, the typical they're going to hear that
So what's the Tom
all the
Pet?
radio
Yeah.
stations that heard it,
Yeah.
like 99X, were like, "Oh, we'll be all over this." There was a song on it called 10 Minutes that was the obvious first single.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember Steve Craig telling me, we would have played this to death. They would have broken it. what
Yeah.
really happened behind the scenes is that Geffen just wasn't interested in developing me anymore, and that was fine. But
Yeah.
what I did was I kept recording even after they rejected it because there was still money in the budget. So
Yeah.
there's all of these recordings out there, like 21 songs.
Yeah.
I still have masters too. Anyway, someone does, maybe not me. But so I left because I wanted to leave for the
Yeah.
reasons explained earlier. Had my kid was born. I was tired of business. Wanted to move
Yeah.
on.
I
No, the
think
no crushing blow. It's the opposite.
it's interesting. Like grunge in a way brought rock and roll back, but it killed a lot of great music. Marty's, the Church did their what fans would call their best record in '92, and it just no one cared because it was Nirvana, Soundgarden, all that stuff was just dominating everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's gonna happen. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, go talk to Del Shannon if he was still alive. I mean, he was
Yeah.
throwing hits up there like nobody's business, and the Beatles showed up.
Yeah.
That's with everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
Elvis Presley too. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be glib about it, but I mean, I didn't really pay that much attention to grunge per se. There's another
Yeah.
term like jangle pop, though. I mean,
Yeah.
who's grunge and who's not grunge? I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
don't know.
Oh yeah.
I,
Seattle people hate
love
that.
I love Soundgarden,
I do too.
but you know, still do. And
What a voice on that guy.
yeah, I, I
Yeah.
mean, he was one of the best rock singers in
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
He also he stole from me, but I didn't sue him.
Did he? Did he
Yeah,
really?
yeah. Go listen to if you own Enthrall,
Yeah, I do.
go and remember it came first. Go take a listen to a song on there called the Even Song. Listen to the opening 8 bars of the Even Song, 12 bars of the Even Song. Then go listen to his James Bond theme song.
Hmm. Interesting. I'll check that out.
It's note for note.
A buddy of
But
mine.
it's
Go ahead.
Cornell, so I wouldn't have bothered. Plus, it's sad that he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did want to see the Eagles back in the Guadalcanal days, but I couldn't get anybody behind me to help. Our lawyer was like, "We're not going to see the Eagles." Okay.
A buddy of mine, back when I lived in Boston for 3 years, had a obscure band, and they had this song called "Raised by Wolves," and U2 came out with a song very similar called "Raised by Wolves," and there was no way that U2 ever heard my friend's song.
Would you
And,
know
and
anything
if they
about,
had, why would they want to rip it off? But
you
it's
know anything
just
about copyright law?
yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Well, then you probably know that Access is a lot of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And I could prove that Chris Cornell had heard my stuff.
yeah,
That was pretty easily provable. And I
yeah,
could also prove that the Eagles had too.
yeah, yeah.
You know, who wants to spend
Oh,
years?
that's right.
I got
Are you
one.
thinking about that? Get over it.
I got one lawyer. You got 50. You know who wants to spend years in court fighting?
Is it that Eagles song? It's "Get Over It," isn't it? Is that the one you're? Yeah.
Maybe, maybe,
I want to take your inner child and kick its inner ass, or
maybe.
some line.
Could be.
Yeah,
I wasn't the only author on it.
yeah, 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 yeah. They were.
Everybody.
They don't seem like good people to me. The Eagles.
I
I
think
don't know.
some of them probably are okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a big fan. But
Although I got to hand it to Don Henley for getting on stage with Mojo Nixon at one point and singing "Don Henley Must Die" along with him.
yeah,
So.
I remember that. I remember when that happened, and I also thought that of all the people that get the bad reps from that band, he's got one of the worst ones. But he made some good solo albums.
He did. Yeah.
One
Definitely.
thing that he always said is, "I don't want to make. I'm doing this because I don't want to sound like the Eagles anymore." I thought, well, okay,
Yeah. Billy and Perfect Beast is a terrific album.
yeah, it
It
is.
really is.
It's on.
Let's see what else. We've been going for a while, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. But let me look at my notes here. Well, I don't. This is on Wikipedia, so I don't know if it's true. But I thought it was interesting that it said that Guadalcanal Diary chose to break up in order to preserve their friendships. And if that's true, that's a beautiful thing that you don't hear very much. of.
I mean, it's true in addition to other reasons,
Yeah.
but yeah, we didn't. I think the All Music years and years ago. I forget who wrote it on All Music, but somebody wrote maybe when he went in All Music, but somebody wrote a bio of us wherein they said after an acrimonious breakup. I mean, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's sort of like you saying, you know, crushing blow and took me 20 years to get over
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's a better story, but it's,
It's the opposite.
yeah.
No, we were friends. We're still friends. I
Yeah.
mean, Rhett Crow's one of my dearest friends.
Yeah.
I still love John Poe. We still keep in touch. I mean, I loved Jeff. We lost him. I mean, no, we fought like any other bands fought that were, they had to be cramped together during various periods of your career. But no, we split up on completely good terms.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of accurate actually,
Yeah.
because we would have probably gotten a little bit tense with each other if we'd have done a fifth record, because
Yeah.
Rhett and Jeff had just had their fifth child.
Yeah.
Life was getting in the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's got to be I don't know how anyone could do it, to have a child and go on the road with a band, unless you bring the
yeah, I
child with
mean,
you, and then that's a whole weird,
people do it. I
so
remember seeing Exene carrying her kid around in
yeah,
X.
yeah,
So people do. You know,
yeah, yeah,
Rhett and Jeff took their first child on the road with us. They hired a nanny who
yeah,
traveled with them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you can do it, but maybe that's not what you want to do. I don't know. It's not what I wanted to do.
yeah,
So when my child was born, I was like, "Yep, I'm done."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. All right, well, I'll leave you with the obvious question, which is,
Oh, what's the obvious question?
what are you going to
Wow.
do now? What's next for Murray Attaway? I'm excited to have this new album, and I know you're probably like, hey, I just put out this album. You're already asking me what's next, but
No, no. Everybody asked me.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
be happy because it means that you at least like it a little bit. If you
yeah,
want to know what we're going to do next, yeah, I think I'll do another one.
cool.
But do you mean
I
next?
hope so.
Next, like, what am I going to do after Saturday's
Like
show?
after Saturday show, I already asked you that, and you said you didn't have anything planned. So I guess I mean next.
You didn't ask me that on this interview, then.
No, not in this interview.
No, but
I'll ask you now. What are you going to do after this Saturday show? Which is, by the way, at the Foundry in Athens, Georgia.
yes,
You should go to it.
yeah, you should. Foundry is a great room. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, Clay Harper is the opener again.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah, I thought they were great.
I may be there. We'll see. I got to talk to the wife, but
Let me know.
we came to the
Uh,
first one.
uh, yeah, it was fun seeing you there. After that, I think I may go do some. I probably let's see if anybody in the band sees this, they'll get mad if I say it, but I don't have any plans to do this band right
Hmm.
away.
Yeah,
But I might because they're fun to play with and they all really worked hard on this, and
yeah,
I like all of them very much. So I'm sure the band will do something together again pretty soon. I'll probably go and do some acoustic stuff outside Georgia, maybe go do some stuff up in North Carolina, up the road in North Carolina, Virginia, places like that.
hmm, yeah,
Um, because that's easy for me to do, like, and I'd like to put together a trio. I was just talking to Robert Schmidt, the guy that played drums on the album, played drums in the band, and who was in Twin Pool Cube. I've been begging Robert for years to please put together a percussion kit
hmm,
so we can do some stripped down stuff. And
yeah,
I feel like I'm dragging a steamship up a mountain, but or rather, I should say a riverboat or a
hmm,
steamship. Yeah, yeah, okay. It's Geraldo reference, but I'm hoping that he's going to do it because I'd like to do something like that. I'd like to do something that's like me, percussionist, violinist, like on a balka,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe acoustic bass from Jonathan Spencer, who plays with the band. Uh,
I'm a big Eels fan, and I've seen him a few times. And one of the tours he did was that, basically just him and a percussionist. And
who did you say?
Eels, Mark
Neil.
Everett. Oh, you got to
Oh,
dig in. You got to dig into Eels if you haven't heard him. They had that one hit Novocaine for the Soul, like in the late '90s.
Well, I'm sure I've
But they've
heard it.
been making albums for years. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
I'll send you
thanks.
some stuff.
Do and you should listen to Fairport Convention when you get.
I will. I will.
Uh, but that's that. I'm probably gonna do some stuff like that. I already started writing another record. I
Yeah.
mean, even to say that it's kind of
Well, did you have like
because I've got tons of material.
I was gonna say, were you writing songs over these years? Did you have a
Yeah, yeah,
backlog of songs? Yeah.
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 Just write stuff for fun,
Yeah.
or if something would interest me. And I think, oh, I better put that in the song, something like that.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, I could do numerous. I'm sure you could say the same thing. I could do numerous records now
Yeah.
with just material that I already have, but I'm not going to do it like that. I mean, it's more fun
Yeah.
to write stuff. I mean,
Now, what I have is
one of the songs on this album I wrote when I thought the album was finished. It
Mhm.
just popped up, and I literally recorded it with just electric guitar and put it on the record.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great record. I've really enjoyed getting to know it. I've got a lot more sort of takes a while to fully become acquainted with a record for me, but
Yeah, me too. And I'm still listening to yours too. It's a great
oh,
record.
well, thank you. Thank you.
What are you gonna do?
I'm starting to write for another record. Marty and I are playing June 10th at Eddie's, I told you, which will be a lot of fun.
I'm gonna
And
do it.
it's I am not a prolific writer. I have a hard drive full of unfinished snippets of music that is kind of how this album came about, is me finally finishing those. So that's on my list, and I'm going to just start some stuff from scratch too. A couple of songs on the record just started from scratch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely want to do another record. It's just been, life getting in the way recently, but hopefully life is going to get back to a more even keel than it has
Yeah,
been. So,
I hope you're right. I hope it does. I mean, I'm it's more fun to me to write new stuff for new records. And if older material that is finished, but that I've never recorded and released properly, or if older fragments sort of speak up, as it were,
mhm.
then I'll look at them and go, like for instance, this morning, this fellow mentioned the unreleased record of mine that's out, as illegal down, whatever, just as out as downloads on sites.
Yeah,
It's stupid to say it that way for me, but
that
there's a
makes it
guy.
sound cool. If it's illegal, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, those outlaw downloads. Uh, there's a guy out in Midwest who keeps in touch with me regularly and is a nice guy. And um, he's got a copy of it, and he singled out this one song that he got sort of fascinated with that had ever come out. And he had the unfinished version of it, which is how I knew that that's what was out there. And he was like, "Oh, this could use this part or that part. Couldn't it? Are you ever going to do this song?" I was like, "Well, you actually aren't listening to the final version of it. It does have a lot of that stuff in it."
Yeah,
But he sent me a just he said, "This is just for you to think about." He's a good pianist. He may be a good all around keyboardist, but he sent me this interesting little demo of himself playing piano along with that song.
mm,
And I thought, that was actually a really good song, and I wrote it for a real specific reason. And I think if I took it and rearranged it around just piano and perhaps another instrument and did some stuff, stuff like that. So like that one popped out of nowhere, right?
mhm.
Uh, so I may take that and use that one. I'd already started writing a song a couple of weeks ago that I'm happy about that I want to use. And when I started Tense Music Plays, this is the point that I want to make because I thought it's interesting as far as production goes. When I started it, if you listen to the song "Old Christmas" on this record,
Mhm.
it's very different in feel and atmosphere than anything else on the record. Well, that's the first
Yeah,
song I did for the record.
yeah. I
And
remember that you played that one for me, and I love that one. It's just
yeah, thank
super
you.
cool and unique, and
Well, the whole
only
record,
you could have done it, which is
good, because I'm going to do more of that. The
yeah.
whole record was intended to sound that way originally. What
Mhm.
happened was that I know enough not to force stuff, and
Hmm.
the other songs that were coming out didn't work that way.
Yeah.
And I had one song that I held back because I felt like it needed more development that was more sort of interesting and
Hmm.
off center. But I wasn't going to try to beat the rest of them into that sort of room that old
Yeah.
Christmas occupies, you know.
Yeah.
So I learned that was maybe the best lesson I learned with this record is don't go into the project thinking you're going to make this kind of record. Not for
Yeah.
somebody like
Yeah.
I'm not, it would be like me saying, okay, well, now I'm going to go make a hip hop record, or now I'm going to go make, a outlaw country record, and now I'm going to go, it would be almost the same thing as that. I can't say I'm going to go make this style because
Yeah.
there isn't something like that for me. It's got to be whatever the music dictates, you know?
Yeah. It's funny how, like, I didn't know I was making a record when I was making it. I just was like,
That's,
well,
that's even better.
let's just do a couple. Well, maybe we'll put out a song. Oh, maybe we'll put out two songs. Oh, maybe I should call Michael Jerome and see if he wants to play drums. It just kind of grew like that, and so I didn't think about it. And then I was amazed at the end of it when I'm like, God, this thing all hangs together around this theme of what is a significant life. Me
Yeah, yeah.
and so who knows what it's going to be now. I'm trying to stay out of that trap because sometimes I'm like, maybe I want to chart out a record of like how it ebbs and flows from loud to quiet, fast. Like no,
Yeah.
just start making noise, and then
Just
good
start
things will
making,
happen. Yeah,
this is like a friend of mine that was a painter told me years ago, if you want to paint, put paint on the canvas.
yeah. No, I tell my wife that all the time. I mean, she's a budding painter, and I see her going through a lot of the agony of self-criticism that I've put myself through, and I'm sure you have over the years. And it's like the answer to every creative problem is just paint or just play. Just pick up the fucking guitar and
Yeah,
start
because
playing, and don't.
you're gonna blow it. Go ahead and accept
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I've written some of the worst lyrics I've ever heard
yeah,
come from a human, and
yeah.
I've recorded some of the worst songs I've ever heard recorded. So, I mean, you're
I
gonna
mean,
do it.
that was the thing I learned about myself in making this record. Is it used to be I'd have a snippet, I'd try to write some vocals over it, and I'd hate what I did, and then I'd throw it away. And I've learned now that if I just keep doing it, I'll eventually find something good that I like. But
Yeah,
you know, you
I
have to push through that. So
had the opening chords for Litany floating around for 4 years.
yeah,
They just
yeah,
ding 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 ding
yeah,
ding. It's an odd rhythm, if you take
yeah.
it apart. And
It's
and
like
it
a
was just
triplet almost. Dun, dun, dun,
yeah,
dun,
I
dun.
just
Yeah,
had it in my head. I'd play it on acoustic guitar occasionally and just bopping around. And then we were getting ready to record two by four, and I sat the third album, and I was like, oh, let me look at that again. And I sat down. And that day, I had the song. It
hmm,
just slotted in. It just became a song, but it grew. Now, those are
yeah,
the best, I mean,
yeah,
God, it's like a gift from heaven, when that
yeah. It's
happens. I mean, not that I think that song's
no, it is. It's
so
great,
great. I'm
great
just
fucking
saying
song.
that when it happens to you like that, no matter whether
Yeah,
the song's good or not, when you just like sort of receive
yeah,
it,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
magical to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I love vocal parts that work the way that one does with the big high soaring note that just stays there,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I realized I haven't written a part like that in a while, and I love singing them. I love writing them, so I'm gonna try. Maybe
step to
that's
it,
we'll see.
step to it. I could still
Um,
hit that note with no problem. It's the half step up that I have the trouble with.
yeah, it's funny. I had thyroid surgery a few years back. I had my
Mhm.
thyroid removed, and they told me, you may lose some pitch, some range.
Mhm.
And and they said, but it'll probably come back after a year. And I remember trying to sing some of my old band songs after the surgery, and I'm like, oh well, I can't hit it anymore. I guess that's kind of sad. I won't be able to sing those songs again. And then a year later, it came back plus a step,
Oh
so I
wow!
can sing a step higher than I used to be able to.
I'm gonna go have my thyroid removed.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm missing a half step. That's all I'm missing. I'm
Yeah,
lucky,
that's not
but
bad.
I am missing one half step. So,
Yeah,
and try as I'm, because I've got a song. There's a song on the album that where I managed to hit the note recording it, but I can't pull it off live, not reliably. If I go in knowing I might not hit it, I'm just not going to do it. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I had to my old band, I had to make an agreement with them that I would stop writing parts that I could not sing. So,
I won't stop that. I'm going to write
yeah,
them, and if I have to alter them a little bit, that's fine. But I mean, I figure if it comes from within, then there's a reason for it. So
yeah,
either
yeah,
that or really delusional. I don't know which
yeah.
is true. Probably both.
Well, cool, man. Thank you for your time. And
Right, sure.
it's interesting. They say don't meet your heroes, and I always tell people that
And you've still managed to keep that
yeah,
going. That's
yeah, no. Well, like Marty was a hero of mine, and it's like meeting him has been fantastic. And you were a hero of mine growing up, and still are in many, many ways. So in some ways, I really disrespect you. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
uh,
but no, you're the guy I thought you would be, and it's been great getting to know you a little bit, and I appreciate it, and I'm so glad that you're doing this again because it's great stuff, and it's great to have you back. So,
well, we both need to keep doing it, don't we? So
yep, yep,
well, those are kind words, and I thank you for them. But we both need to remember just keep doing it. This is a time when people time in history when people really need to be making enjoyable creative work.
yeah,
I think it's very important right now. I mean,
yeah,
I don't mean to sound ominous or anything. I don't mean it that way. I mean, just why not now? So many people that I know seem so down. I get it, but let that fuel your creativity. Just go do your thing anyway. Whatever you think. If you don't like
yeah,
what's going on, change it. Change it in your
yeah,
way.
yeah. I
And
mean,
just keep doing what you're doing.
I mean, tough times can lead to great art. So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
In fact, usually, sadly, that is what leads to great art.
Yeah, yeah. Look at the '60s. That was, all kinds of fucked up stuff was happening then. And we
Fraught
got
with
Jimi Hendrix and the Beach Boys and the Beatles and
doors.
the Doors, and that's only the scratching the surface. So.
Yeah, barely.
Well, cool.
Well, it's
All right,
a pleasure. Thank you, Craig.
all right. Thank you, Murray. I will see
Bye.
you. Hopefully, I will see you on Sundays or Saturday. It's Saturday, right? The 17th. Yeah.
Saturday, May 17th
All
in
right.
Athens,
Cool.
Columbia.
In Athens, Georgia. Everyone go. So, all right.
Thanks.
See you. Thanks.